Welcome to Chapter 1. So, why are you here? Why do you have to learn research methods? Obviously, you're here because you're either fulfilling a requirement for the communication major or you're fulfilling a requirement for the core as a social science class. And I get that, right? You wouldn't take this class if it weren't required. And the fact that I happen to love the study of research methods and the use of research methods is unlikely to make you into someone who is passionate about them. But I hope we can make it at least interesting and help you to understand their importance. Research methods are super important for both our personal and our professional lives, right? We can develop critical thinking and problem solving skills for our lives. We can become critical consumers. We're all inundated with social media, with streaming, with more traditional forms of media, with books for some of us who love books, right? And we're consuming all of that. We need to be critical consumers of that. We need to think about what we are consuming, what things we want to believe, what things we want to learn more about, right? And we need to be informed citizens. Now, that's true no matter where you are on the political spectrum. We should all be informed as citizens in a democracy, and communication and understanding how methods work, what it means when somebody says research shows that, right? Understanding that is really helpful. Lastly, there's really practical applications for decision making, for learning to be a very competent leader, even for doing really creative work what you want to use to attract people to send certain kinds of messages, maybe in something formal like public relations or advertising, maybe something less formal, right? Like you are trying to persuade people to attend a performance that you and your friends are doing this quarter because you're all musicians and you're just really into that. Okay, so a few background things about the field of communication. There is no S in on the end of the communication, and I happen to love that the authors mention this because students are always putting an S on the end of it. The discipline, right, the field of communication does not have an S on it. The practice of it out in the world does have an S on it. So people say, I work in communications, right? Could be corporate communications, could be public relations related things, could be advertising related things, could be social media related and content creation things, but that's communication with an S on it. There's nearly infinite forms of communication, and your generation knows that better than literally anybody else, as that proliferation of forms has been such a huge part of your life. Think about something like podcasts, right? That didn't used to be a thing. I grew up without not no cell phones, let alone having smartphones. So hugely changed the way in which we consume media and information. All of this communication that surrounds us, whether we're talking about interpersonal communication between a person or two, whether we're talking about groups or organizations within society, or whether we're talking about larger social level messages about what it means to be a US citizen, what it means to be a person of color, what it means to be a person with a disability, what it means to have white privilege. All of those things, right, are socially constructed. Meaning and culture and values are all socially constructed. Now, social constructionism does not deny at all the reality of the world around us. Yes, this building is real, and so is the desk, and so are the cars, and so is the food that we ate, and so is my can of Diet Coke. The point is that the meaning surrounding those, who's entitled to them, what it means if you're a consumer of that, what kind of car you have, what that says about you, what your clothes might say about you, what the stickers on your water bottle or computer say about you, right? All of that meaning is socially constructed. And then because that reality, the meaning part, is socially constructed, research methods are also socially constructed, right? They are influenced by our values and our beliefs and the choices that we make. There's no such thing as purely objective research, even though some people would try to make you believe that there are. We're going to talk about that kind of thing a lot this quarter. Understanding that research is done by humans, and humans are imperfect and they are culturally specific, right? We all grew up in some kind of a culture or intersection of cultures, and those are all very valuable, right? And we can be very careful and very precise and do a very good job doing our research. But even something like the grants fund some kinds of research in society and not other kinds, right? We are very into researching some diseases and conditions. We are far less into providing money to research other kinds of diseases and conditions. And because of that, we know a lot less about them. And that is just one way in which values get involved in our research. We're going to learn more about that this quarter. Okay, welcome to Lastly, we're going to talk about the 4 key characteristics of communication research. These are going to be critical to all of your assignments going forward, so this is an important part to pay attention to. First of all, communication research is the study of how people make meaning, i.e., how does this socially constructed meanings come to be in the world? Secondly, it's the study of patterns, right? Not just what one person thinks, but how do lots of people come to accept norms, roles, ways of being in the world. And we can study those both by looking at behaviors and words that people use. We can look at their nonverbal communication. We can also look at things like measurements of their attitudes, beliefs, and ways of making sense of the world. How much they value certain kinds of things. We can study those and look at patterns in them. We can also come up with lots of practical knowledge, right? How to do a better PR campaign, how to do a better advertisement, how to persuade your friends to go to the bar that you want to go to on Friday night, how to persuade other people to join the club that you love being in. Lastly, communication research is always about building an argument. There's no such thing as research that isn't about an argument, right? Whether that again is persuading your friend, about persuading lots of people to buy a product, about helping people to understand their right to vote, right? All of these things involve making an argument and trying to persuade, or to be a critical consumer of how people are trying to persuade you. Finally, a definition for methods. Methods are frameworks, right? They're systems and sets of ideas and processes about how to construct knowledge. So it's a framework for collecting data, organizing data, analyzing that data, and then presenting the findings that you generate out of that data.